Hi, welcome to our Interview Best Practices training video. My name is Dr. Jessica Nguyen, Associate Director here at Career Development at the University of West Georgia, and one of the liaisons to the Tanner Health System School of Nursing. If you're watching this, then you're preparing to start your job search, or perhaps you've already landed an interview. This video is meant to offer some key considerations as you transition from nursing student to nursing professional. Please watch the video in its entirety for information regarding available resources on interview preparation, resume writing, and more. Today is Kennedy's first interview for a nursing position. This is a one-on-one, in-person interview with a nursing administrator. As you watch the interview, be sure to pay attention to the nonverbal responses and behaviors. They are just as important as Kennedy's verbal responses to the interview questions. For the sake of time, Kennedy has already introduced herself, shaken hands, and is now ready for the interview to start.
Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I function as charge nurse during a 1-month preceptorship and perform duties such as making rounds with doctors, transcribing orders, and handling admissions. I've also delegated effectively to UAPs and other licensed personnel.
While this is an exaggeration, it's common practice for interviewees to repeat the information that's on their resume regarding this question. When responding to the Tell Me About Yourself question, be sure to focus on your path to nursing and the qualities and skills you feel make you a great nurse. Let's see how Kennedy responds to the next question.
So Kennedy, why did you leave your last job?
Why didn't I leave my last job? I mean, there was the worst supervisor. She had so many of my coworkers and I on the clock at the same time. Like, how could you be so careless and schedule us all at one time? Like, come on, like, aren't you the supervisor? Like, do I have to do your job for you? Or do we need to hire somebody? Like, I don't know.
If there's one way to ruin your chances of landing a job, it's talking negatively about past employer or experience. It's never a good idea to speak negatively about prior experience, whether it's school or a job. If you question about a former employer with whom you've had a negative experience, always respond with statements such as, I felt it was time to move forward with my career and your company provides that opportunity. Or, while I learned a great deal from my former company, I decided to challenge myself and your company provides that development I seek and the challenge to grow in this industry. Notice I redirected the focus from the negative company to the new company. One more question to go.
Tell me about a difficult patient that you had and how you handled the situation.
Oh, I've had so many difficult patients. But there was this one patient, like, he was just crazy. Like, he spit on me. He also was like yelling at me, like yelling in my face. Like, I didn't know like what to do. And then he had the worst family. Like, they came in like the Brady Bunch. Like, it was so many of them. Like,
this is the perfect question to introduce the STAR method. Kennedy's response took away the focus from her skills. STAR stands for situation or task, the action you took, and the results of that action. If Kennedy were to implement this method of communication, she would have answered the question completely with enough detail and without becoming long-winded. Now that you've seen a little of what a traditional one-on-one interview looks like, let's take a look at the ever-popular panel interview style. These are extremely common, and there are different approaches when you have to consider interviewing in this way. For the sake of this video, we're going to focus on what a panel interview looks like, how to respond to questions in a panel interview, and dealing with the fear of public speaking. In a panel interview, a group of people representing one or more aspects of the company will ask a series of questions. Here are some key concepts to remember when you're being interviewed by a panel. Please bring extra copies of your resume. Most times, they'll have copies, but just in case someone forgets theirs, you should have some on hand. Please bring a pen and notepad. Write down their names and the positions of the interviewers as they introduce themselves. This helps with learning their names, and you'll have their information on hand for when you go to send a thank you card or email after the interview. You'll also want to take notes throughout. Don't try to write down everything. However, they may mention something new happening at their company that you want to bring up later in your interview. Writing it down can help you remember it.
Tell me about yourself.
Panel interviews typically operate in a round-robin fashion. This means that a panelist will ask a question, you will respond, and then another panelist will ask a question, and so forth.
Can you describe to us your philosophy of nursing?
I like nursing.
Talk to everyone. This can be difficult for those who are uncomfortable in a crowd or in groups. But remember, in a hospital or clinic setting, You may have to communicate with large family groups about this difficult subject matter. This is practice. It's always important to maintain eye contact in any setting, but in a panel interview, you are addressing the panel regardless of who is asking the question.
So sometimes in nursing we have some difficult situations, we have difficult patients. How would you handle a difficult patient or maybe their family members?
Sometimes you'll get asked a long question. It's okay to ask the interviewer to repeat the question. It can be nerve-wracking in front of a group of people, but you don't want to miss answering the question.
Do you have any questions for us?
Yes. Why did you become a nurse?
Having questions of your own is also necessary in an interview, whether one-on-one or panel. If you have knowledge of who your interviewers are ahead of time, you can prepare questions tailored to their department. If you don't have this information, you can still have questions about the role, collaborations with other departments, and other interview questions in mind for your interviewers.
Hi, I'm Amy Jenkins, Manager of Patient Experience at Piedmont Nguyen Hospital. If I had to give you one piece of advice for interviewing, I would just say be comfortable, be yourself, consider it a conversation. We're going to come in with a stack of papers, all of these typed out questions, but we really want to get to know you as a person and if you'll fit in with our organization.
Tiffany Wolf, Clinical Education Coordinator at Piedmont Nguyen Hospital. I want to know your why you chose nursing and why you chose this organization. And just relax.
Mallory Gresham, Nurse Manager of Inpatient Rehab at Redmond Regional Medical Center. Do your homework, be prepared, know the organization and the position that you're applying for.
Susan Webb, Director of Cardiac Step-Down, Redmond Regional Medical Center. Be confident, be yourself, and be authentic.
As you can see, there's quite a bit to consider when interviewing, and we've only scratched the surface. Preparation is the key to success in these situations, and this video is just one way that you can prepare. We'd like to invite you to Career Services for a more in-depth preparation of interview skills, resumes, and other skills development opportunities.